Welcome to episode 37 of Tomes and Tunes. I am your host, Arielle Silver. I am a singer-songwriter and a creative writing teacher in Los Angeles. And this is one of the most fun things to come out of this really difficult, dark year of the COVID pandemic. This idea of a weekly book talk and song swap with songwriters. It's really buoyed my spirits and it's been really fun. So we're in the 37th episode. This week we have Hawaii-based songwriter Sara Jelley. She is just out with some new music. I'm very excited to talk with her. And also, I have a new media partner for the show. Far West is the West Coast Regional Folk Alliance organization. They are awesome, and I'm just so grateful and excited to bring them on. I am missing their logo this week. Completely spaced about it until a couple of minutes ago, and then I was like, well, we're going to get it for next week. But very, very excited about that. So if you are tuning in, hi Susie, hi Shanti. I am so glad to see you both, and whoever else tunes in, please say hi in the chat box. Let us know where you're based. We are all over the place. Of course, I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm going to bring our Hawaii songwriter, first songwriter from Hawaii, on the show. Sara Jelley, hi, how are you?
Hey,
welcome,
how
Sara.
are you?
Uh-oh, wait, are you,
Thank you.
Where's your voice?
I don't know, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. So hi.
Hey.
I've got to ask you, as we were talking a little bit about Maui and Hawaii before, in the green room, but I've got to ask you, are you originally from there, or did you move there at some point? What is the story about that? Hawaii is one of those places you don't meet a lot of people who live in Hawaii when you're living on the mainland, right? You probably meet them all the time.
Well, yeah. Yes, I meet a lot of people who live here. So I grew up in Colorado, in Fort Collins, and I went to school in Boulder, and moved back to Fort Collins, and I was just hitting a point in my life where I needed something different, and this was a total 180 from my life before. I was able to, so my ex-boyfriend and I moved out here together. We both were just so tired of winter, like
Oh yeah.
that was a huge guiding factor.
Yeah.
I was tired of scraping my windshield device. So I decided, okay, no more winters. By next winter, we're going. So we came, and it's been incredibly transformational. Most of the people that live here will tell you that there's some energy here that just it either works really for you or really against you. So I've had so much transformation here in the last 5 years that I've lived here, 5.5 almost, and I'm so happy.
Well, I can hear the chickens in the background, the roosters crowing. Yeah. I remember when I was in Kauai, they were all over the place. That was something I hadn't known about Hawaii before I went there.
People hear roosters on my Zoom calls all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing that nobody else deals with. I forget.
Yeah. But I when you're talking about Colorado and scraping your windshield versus Hawaii, warmer climate, I can't help but think, I moved from Boston to Los Angeles, so effectively the same thing in terms of weather. And there's also Arizona, there's also Florida. There are a lot of places that are not windshield scraping states. So there must have been something else about Hawaii, right?
So we had some friends that were from Oahu, and they moved to Colorado and opened up a Hawaiian cafe. And we were just talking to them about how much we needed to change, and we were thinking about somewhere tropical. We considered, I think, the Virgin Islands, but then they talked up Hawaii so much, they were like, don't move to Oahu because you'll hate it because it's a big city, and we both hated big cities, which is true. I still haven't even been because I'm like terrified. But then they said, okay, Maui's kind of like a nice middle ground, which it is. It's perfect. Like there's country here. I live out in the country a little bit, but there's also plenty of stuff to do and lots of amazing people. And beaches, and it's got everything, literally everything. I think Maui actually has 6 of the 7 climates, like climate regions, all on one little island.
Vertically, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it actually snowed on Haleakala yesterday.
Yeah.
Which happens like once a year. It's cool.
I feel like there's this common characteristic of people I know who moved from the mainland to Hawaii, the sense of adventure or curiosity. They might have been leaving something, or maybe, I don't know. I feel like there's a sense of not exactly knowing what they were going to, in terms of their own personal evolution, but sometimes there's a sense of leaving something. And you said that in the 5.5 years that you've been there, it has been transformational for you.
Yeah.
What is, in what ways?
A lot of people actually feel like they're being called here. That's another thing that I hear a lot. I mean, Hawaii just has this, I mean, there's the culture is the first thing that drew me in. Like, my parents grew up back east, and the culture of, like, you know, always looking down and never saying hi to people, and like I didn't want that. So that's why my parents moved west to Colorado, and I feel like the further west you go, the more open and you know, buoyant the culture is, and Hawaii is absolutely that. Like, you see somebody you know in the grocery store, you know, they'll go like, "Hey," you know, and kiss you on the cheek, and it's awesome. Just the culture of aloha is the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. So that's number 1. And number 2, I needed to change from my life and just seeing the same people, because I was living in the same town I grew up in. So I needed just a total, you know, I needed my life to be something totally different than what I even knew was possible. And I knew that Hawaii was going to be that for me. So like I said, something just called me. Like, I knew that I needed to be here. And I'm very grateful that I'm still here, and that I have a wonderful community of people, and the island hasn't kicked me off yet.
There is that kind of timeless thing that calls some people. It's just a call to go out into the unknown, and you're one of those people. So you have some new music out, but before we talk about that, I'm also curious about, you have a career as an actor. You are a stage performer, right? And
yes,
musical theater. Eliza Doolittle.
I would love to play her. She is amazing. Yeah, so I don't know if I would call it necessarily a career, because I've gotten paid like once to do it. But community theater is a whole universe that I opened up, especially once I moved here. I did one musical theater show in Colorado before I left. My voice teacher at the time was just like, "You need to do theater." I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. What's going on? I don't know if I can do that. And then I got obsessed. So I moved here, and I auditioned for a show almost immediately, because, you know, I needed a way to make friends. And it ended up being the best thing I ever did, because then in the next 3 or 4 years, I think I did like 10 shows. In 1 year, I did 3 shows. And the 3rd show I did was Mary Poppins, and I actually got to play Mary Poppins, and that was highlight of my life. So,
I mean, who wouldn't want to play Mary Poppins, right?
Right? I mean, a lot of people probably, because it's daunting. But I had a great time, and it was beautiful.
So what came
And
first
I'm
for
wearing
you?
my Hamilton shirt today.
Oh, nice. So it sounds like theater came later for you. That music came first. Is that right?
Yeah, I started writing songs when I was in 8th grade. I started taking guitar lessons. My first guitar teacher was like, "Now you know these 4 chords. Go write a song." I was like, okay, I thought I was going to be playing covers for a couple years, but okay, I'll go write a song. And I think I wrote a song about like a sea captain or something. I don't even know.
Okay, that's 14. Fitting for someone who left the mainland and now lives on a tropical island in the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think my first couple songs were about the ocean, actually.
Wow.
So that was amazing. She helped me a lot. I mean, my songs when I was 16 were not wonderful, but there was a lot of heart in them, and it was a way to express my teenage angsty feelings, and it was great. My dad was really excited too because he had always wanted to play guitar, and he taught me my first couple chords and bought me my first guitar and my first electric too. And now he's better than I am at guitar because he's finally taken the time for himself to learn how, and he's like a crazy finger picker, and it's awesome. So we bond over that. That's really nice. And then I took some time off in college. I was a Japanese major. I did a little open mic night here and there, but that was about it. And then when I moved back to Fort Collins, I started working at Whole Foods and did my yoga teacher training and had a whole yoga life too, which now all of this feels like other universes. Every couple of years of my life feels like a whole separate universe.
I think it all starts to come together at some point in time, honestly. Like there's this like spend time in this universe, spend time in that universe, and a third and maybe a fourth universe, and then they start to swirl in together. You realize they're not separate. They're more, I think of my life as like a trisolar orbit.
No, totally. Yeah, Maui has been a really good place to integrate all of that stuff because I have played music for yoga here, and that was been really awesome. And I actually get to use my Japanese a little bit here and there because there's a lot of people who speak Japanese here. So yeah, it's kind of an integration. But then I finally started working on my music, like more hardcore, probably like 7 years ago, and started writing a lot more. And that's where most of the songs on these albums came from. I have one song I think I wrote when I was like 17 that's on the album, but most of them are from the last like 7 to 10 years.
We have someone in the chat box, Leela, a dear friend of mine, and she says FOCO, and I'm assuming that means Fort Collins. I think that yes. We're getting some Colorado vibes.
I have a dear friend named Leela too.
Maybe it's the same.
FOCO.
Maybe it's the same Leela. So that's pretty awesome. So this album that is the full album released now? Tell us about that.
Yes. So I put out my first single, Holes, which is the title of that single and the album. It's all holes. On October 29th, and then my second single was the Can't Fix Anybody, and that came out on November 20th, and then my whole album came out on December 11th. And it's my first official album.
Did you record all of that during COVID?
Technically only half. I started recording this album, I guess, almost 2 years ago now, because I met my recording engineer through a friend, and he turned out to be a regular at the coffee shop I was working at, and he just kept bugging me. He's like, we need to record your stuff. Like, just call me, let's record it. I was like, yeah, whatever. And finally, I decided to record some stuff 2 Mays ago, and just got super busy in between. I did a couple theater shows and was working, and I traveled and stuff. And then I was just didn't know when I was going to record the rest of it. I knew I wanted a full-length album because I've wanted that since I was a kid. Like, since I opened CDs of my favorite artists, I was like, I could do this. I want to do this. And then finally, in this past August during COVID, I decided to record the rest of it. And luckily, I mean, he lives, it's in his house. It's just a recording studio, so it's just the two of us. And it was really exciting to do that. And the first batch was recorded in a slightly different way too than the second batch, and I don't know if people can hear that, but I definitely noticed a difference. But I like both of them, and it was just an amazing experience to be able to record all that myself. And it's all acoustic, mostly Maui musicians, all recorded and produced and mastered by him.
I'm a little bit amazed at the speed. You recorded the other half of it in August, and you released the first single in October, November, and now it's out.
Yeah,
that's fast.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, part of it is because I wanted it to be a very acoustic, very simple kind of record. Yeah. So there wasn't a whole lot of production and other stuff we had to do. Yeah. And also met the musicians that I was working with. 2 of them were just like, yeah, I'm bored. Let's go. Let's do it tomorrow. So that was nice. I didn't have to like schedule them or anything. They're like, yeah, let's do it.
Right. There is that upside with COVID, is that there have been a lot of musicians who are just kind of like kittens pawing at the back door. Let me in. Let me do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking behind the scenes about how you being on this show. I I don't know if this is what caused you to pick up the book that you're reading right now, but you were not the first person to say to me, "Wow, I don't read a lot of books. So now I'm going to be on a show and I'm going to talk about books." So you don't read a lot.
It probably was what motivated me to pick up the book. But I have so many books. I have a lot of books. I love self-help books, spiritual books, random other genres of stuff. But I keep staring at them, and I'm like, I'd rather, read an article or watch a TV show or something. I don't know why. It's just been like that for many years.
Is it about the commitment? Because a book is, bigger than an article.
I think so, because when I do pick up a book, I read like a chapter or two, and then I like leave it on my nightstand for a while.
I'm so curious about this.
Little bits. And I don't read a lot of nonfiction, so that's I think why. Like if I was reading, or no, I don't read a lot of fiction. If I was reading fiction, I think I would be much more motivated to like stay in the story and finish it. But the nonfiction, I just get little bits, and it's like I have to chew on it for a while,
Yeah, that's what Cynthia Brenda was saying last week. She likes to read just like little bits and just contemplate.
Yeah. But this book I'm reading right now is written by a friend here, actually. She just published her first book, and so I really wanted to read it to support her, and it's awesome. Like, I'm loving it. It's called Burning Wings, and it's about her first time at Burning Man, and she's been many, many times since then, but it's her tagline is a mostly true story about love, light, fear, darkness, hallucinations, narcotics, spirituality, debauchery, and that thing in the desert.
Nice.
And I'm more than halfway through it, and it's awesome.
What is her name?
Her name is Kyra Bramble, and I'll tag her later in the comments so she knows.
Very nice. Is there a little passage that you would be willing to share with us?
Sure.
Want to say hi to Mark from DFW, Texas. We got our two Texas, Susie and Mark. Nice to see you guys. Reese and Katie and Elle, hello you guys. Please say hi in the chat if you are just tuning in. Let us know where you're coming from. This is Sara Jelley from Hawaii.
Okay, so this is a little bit about, I don't know anything about Burning Man, so I'm learning a whole bunch through this. And apparently there's a temple that they build every year, and they have you been?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. So this might be very real for you. And there's like a little, a temple where people can write notes to everybody else who's reading it. So this is her description of it. The people in the temple all have the same look in their eyes of surrender, as if after fighting a war they thought they believed in, they now have accepted everything they thought of as wrong. It is a look of resignation, but also of hope for the future, a look of understanding that they now have the wisdom and power to ensure that no one else will make the same mistakes they did. It is an acceptance of the darkness that exists next to the light, that we will all burn someday in our own way, and only then we will truly be free. The walls have writings and offerings on them. I see photos, old letters, art, clothing, and stuffed animal. I pause to read some of the writing, and then I'm going to read you one of my favorite ones that she wrote. A paper that looks like it's been ripped from a journal catches my eye next. And this is the journal entry. If I can share anything that I've learned in this short life, let it be this. It's not about you. That's in all caps. All that drama and suffering and shit you think your parents, your lovers, your friends, and even strangers put you through, all the shit that you cling onto that you use to define your life, your suffering, your progression, it's not yours. Yes, even the abuse, the cheating, the lies, the gossip, all that crap, it's just fluff. It's just the remnants of someone else living this human existence with toxicity. Whatever was done to you, your family, your ancestors, what you hold is yours alone, your experience that you choose to carry. I found this piece by imagining being stuck in a room with another human being I've never met who is having a negative experience. I am there, I'm witnessing, I can empathize, I can offer comfort and wisdom, but I know it's not my work. It's just someone else going through their experience and dropping their dark energy bullshit balls in your area. Why would you pick them up? Why would you carry them with you? It won't help them. It won't help you. It will just damage you and cause you to carry more dark energy balls with your own, more to carry, more to drop, more to obsess over, more to distract you from being your divine self. You can hold space for others without taking on their shit. I'm sorry if I'm not allowed to say that, but too bad. Too late now. Your ego wants you to believe that everything revolves around you, but it doesn't. Let that shit go, man. It's not you.
Mm-hmm.
Then she says, I recoil from that last one. How can it not be about me? I cry still. A dreadlocked goddess in a flowing skirt and tie-dye crop top grabs my hand and walks with me for a few minutes before releasing me. Still, I soak in the stories offered. The emotions are like a new drug. I need more. Just one more, then I'll stop. And then she keeps going for a while.
Yeah, the temple is so at Burning Man it's a more or less a week, and on the second to last night they burn this effigy that is, just like a crude shape of a man, usually up on a pedestal of some sort, and then the very last night the temple burns, and the temple itself has both the temple and the burning of the temple have very different feelings than most everything else there. There's something cathartic, and even in the irreverence of so much about the festival, there's something very reverent feeling about the temple. It's just 2x4s and plywood, and people show up and they scrawl graffiti. They, like you said, they leave things there, offerings of some sort or another. But yeah, it's my experience of the temple was you feel really worn down to the bone being there in the desert for that time. It's a harsh climate. Whiteouts, very cold at night, very hot during the day, no shelter. And by the time you get to the last night of the temple, you're there, it's kind of like just that constant sand rubbing a stone. You're kind of worn down, worn away. And by the time the temple burns, it's incredibly powerful, in part because of the setting and in part because of what that temple, all of the joy and sadness that it's held over the course of the week, from people, getting married there and grieving there and expressing their traumas, their love, all the things.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So what's the name of that writer again?
Her name is Kyra Bramble.
Yeah.
It's her first book.
Yeah. Very nice. That's fun that she wrote about Burning Man.
Yeah, it's really cool to read about and kind of experience through her.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would ever go, so it's nice to have this to experience sort of.
Yeah, one of the nice things about books is that you can experience it through the book, but you don't actually have to experience it in real life necessarily. Right. I'm reading right now this this book by it's a novel by Richard Powers. It's called The Overstory. And my light is always a little blown out because I sit right in front of a window. But anyway, I just started it recently, and thought I would read this passage. I think this is from maybe the second or third chapter, which is pretty much where I think I'm on the third chapter. It appears, and there are people probably here who have already read it, but it appears that every chapter tells the story of a different family within the context of of a particular tree. And so the first chapter is the story of this family, multi-generational story within the context of the chestnut tree and the chestnut blight across America. And you just see time pass. I guess the second chapter was, I don't remember if it was mulberry. I think it was a mulberry tree. I have a mulberry right out here in the backyard. I think that's what it was. And the third chapter, I think it's an elm. There are several trees in this third chapter that I'm in. But there are 4 children, and the father plants 4 different trees, 4 different types of trees for his 4 children. I'm going to put on my spectacles. Okay, so this is just a little piece. So this is one of the kids, Adam. And he is fascinated by science, and he's very fascinated by the plant life and the animal life within the plant life. And he is at the moment quite taken with a book that he finds that is full of logic problems. Adam can't stop reading. Again and again, the book shows how so-called Homo sapiens fail at even the simplest logic problems. But they're fast and fantastic at figuring out who's in and who's out, who's up and who's down, who should be heaped with praise and who should be punished without mercy. Ability to execute simple acts of reason? Feeble. Skill at hurting each other? Utterly, endlessly brilliant. Whole new rooms open up in Adam's brain, ready to be furnished. He looks up from the book to see a library closing down and throwing him out. At home, he reads on into the night. He picks up again through breakfast the next morning. He almost misses the bus. He fails to deliver the day's homework to his clients. He's taken up a little side gig of doing his classmates' homework for profit. It's the first blow to his good name since he set up the cheating business. He holds the ape inside us under his desk during the first 3 periods, educating himself on the sly. I love that idea, by the way, of educating yourself on the sly while you're in school.
I used to do that.
He finishes before lunch and then starts it all over again. The book is so elegant that Adam kicks himself for not having seen the truth long before. Humans carry around legacy behaviors and biases, jerry-rigged holdovers from earlier stages of evolution that follow their own obsolete rules. What seem like erratic, irrational choices are, in fact, strategies created long ago for solving other kinds of problems. We're all trapped in the bodies of sly, social climbing opportunists shaped to survive the savannah by policing each other. I'll leave it at that. But I was so taken with that little section. So far, the book is a delight.
That's cool.
But I also like the commentary on the humans. That strange creature that we have.
Very strange.
I just want to check in with the comments here. Shanti says, I should tell a friend of mine about her book, and she's talking about the book that you brought in, Sarah.
I should hold it up. So
he's gone every year to Burning Man in the last few decades. So there it is, Burning Wings. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who are
Shanti's in my Amplify pub.
Oh yeah. Shanti is from Matsu Valley, Alaska. So you guys have the West states locked in.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Speaking of which, the show is, of course, the media partner is Far West, which is the West Coast Regional or the West Regional Folk Alliance. Sarah and Shanti, are either of you planning on attending their virtual conference this year?
I didn't know about it, but I will look into it now.
As you blinked when I asked the question, I was like, yeah, she's not.
But I'm going to find out about it now.
Love it. There you go.
We are far west, so.
Yeah, you are the furthest west. So when you finish that book, Burning Man, the Burning Man book, Burning Wings, what do you think? Do you think you'll venture into books, or you'll go back to your articles?
I don't know. I have a couple waiting for me. Like I have a music business book that I've been wanting to read. I've been wanting to read "Be Here Now" by Ram Dass. I might try and dive into that too.
Another
but I'm
Hawaii.
really trying to. Yeah, Ram Dass was amazing, and
he's based in Hawaii.
Yeah, I actually got to see his last live concert thing that he appeared at with Krishna Das before he died, which was lovely.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do a no screen Sunday every week, which is difficult for me, but I'm making it happen. So books are going to be a part of that.
Yeah, books can help you through that time. I wish you the best.
Thank you. It's an addiction. It's a real addiction.
My favorite thing is the end of my day is always turning off my phone, stepping away from screens and reading. And, you know, I've heard many people say, I just fall asleep on books, and I fall asleep on my books all the time.
Mhm.
I kind of feel like if we're that tired, good.
Yeah.
Like rather than the screen of the phone keeping us awake, like good, let that book put you to sleep because, man, we need some
Totally.
good sleep, right?
Yeah.
So Sara, talking about or moving into the other part of the show, Tomes and Tunes, would you play a song for us today?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for talking about my album. Appreciate it. And that you listened to my first single, Holes, and I really appreciate that too. This song just turned out magically. I don't even know. I didn't really try and write it even. It just kind of happened, and there's no like traditional chorus necessarily. But I think that's why it's so entrancing to me. Like I love to follow it and play with the music. And I highly recommend. I always say this. Like I love playing it solo, but I highly recommend listening to the album version because my friend Henry created these 5 trombone tracks to go with it. That was a work of magic too. Like one of the people at the Hawaii Songwriting Festival that I went to a couple years ago suggested maybe a French horn or something, and I was like, that's an interesting idea. So then I looked up a couple of songs with just acoustic guitar and a horn of some sort, and there weren't a whole lot of them, but I really loved the feel of it. So I found my friend Henry, who's a trombone player, and he just knocked it out of the park. Like he felt into the lyrics and created little solos in between each verse based on those lyrics, and I can feel them in his solos, and it's just incredible. So I have to give him a shout out, and please
So
go listen to that one.
after the show, everybody go and find Sara on your favorite music listening platform and listen to this song.
Yeah, because I would try and do like a mouth trombone, but it's that would be sacrilegious, so I'm not gonna do it. So this is Holes. Do not need to wait for you. Do not need you to call. Do not need to miss you. I'll catch you when you fall. Do not need to rely on you. Don't feel incomplete. Just love the feeling of loving you. Hearing the sound of your feet. You do not leave a hole in me. Though I know emptiness, you will not fill the kind of hole that hangs below my chest. I know that when you show yourself, I see your holes as well. It fills me up to think that I could have your magic spell. I feel as though I matter, 100% human. You say you love me so much, I forget I am not golden. And the minute I'm alone, faced with my own faults, applause has ended, nothing left to fill the bowl. Reach inside and feel around for any speck or crumb. I try singing my own praises, but I'm tired, empty, dumb. Ooh. I do not need to wait for you, but I'm all out of gas. You are the last chance station on the way to Sunday Mass. Do not need to miss you, but I'm leaking from my exhaust. And my heart has its own damn leak, and my fuel's always getting lost. I do not need to miss you, catch you when you fall. But it feels so good when my cup's not empty, even when it's just a little. Even if I know time it all.
So sweet.
Thank you.
So beautiful. So, what was the seed of that song? You know that it's hard to sometimes trace that back, but sometimes it's, as a songwriter, you just always know where the beginning of it was.
The seed. I feel like it was. So I was in between relationships. I had just left a very long-term relationship, and I was kind of talking to this guy in Colorado. Thank you, Shanti. And we were talking on the phone a whole lot, and just kind of keeping each other afloat at the time. And I noticed I was like, we weren't committed or anything. We were literally just talking on the phone. But I was feeling those feelings of obligation and need, and I didn't like how that was feeling. So this is kind of like a recentering of myself, of how to be in that relationship, in that kind of relationship that we didn't have a commitment, we didn't have a plan to be together at all in the near future. We were just there for each other, and so that was me kind of reclaiming my independence and lack of need for another person, like reclaiming my ability to create my own happiness. And then there's a couple points in there that kind of talk about being on stage. It's very much the same feeling as performing on stage and feeling that need for applause and praise and, validation. So it's kind of a 2-layer song. Like that offstage applause has ended, nothing left to fill the vault. Like that same feeling is like I'm noticing myself being pulled in this way and just like empty when I'm not in that position, like talking to him or being on stage, and I don't like that feeling either. So how do I get out from under that and go in a different direction?
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice. And so the word holes in, like you said, there's not a chorus, although you do have some repeated motif lines throughout the song.
Musically.
Yeah, and also lyrically. And so you settled on the title. Every song needs a title, right? And so why that word?
I think in the second part where I say You will not fill a hole in me or something. It's a conversation I've had with my therapist many times. It's like, it's actually a concept, a theory of holes, which you should look up. It's fascinating. But it's like, there's these holes that are created um, based on your whole rest of your life. Like, I feel like I'm a smart person, so I have this hole around being athletic, like that's not me. There's like a black hole there, and it's very much like a feeling of black hole. And I've had that feeling like right around my solar plexus. Like, I feel like there's a black hole, and all the negative feelings just stem out of there and also go into there. And so there's a black hole feeling, but also the emotional holes that you're trying to fill with other people, like other non-relationships, and food, chocolate, like whatever else, a job that you think you identify with, but it's really not serving you. Like, I've had all these experiences, and they're all holes that I'm trying to fill, but they never actually get filled because you're not,
There's a Carl Jung quote that I love. The quote is, "Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our life, and we will call it fate." And you're kind of talking about that when we're not conscious of the whole, but we're just reaching around trying to fill it, without a level of awareness of what we're trying to fill, or whether this other thing is the appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Very similar.
Beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, and there's a lot of other holes metaphors on the album too. Like, I have a song that's an Alice in Wonderland theme song, so down the road hole, and it's all the same kind of stuff, because it was very much what I was dealing with at those years in my life, is a lot of codependency and trying not to put my worth onto other people, and so that's why the whole album is called that too.
Well, so this album came out recently, and that's sort of like a moment. I mean, the promotion of it doesn't. I mean, it begins. Well, it doesn't begin when it comes out, but there's a lot of stuff that starts when the album is finally out in the world. But then also it's sort of the end of another process, the end of the recording, the end of that cycle. These songs now live externally to you. People can hear them without you being around. They have a life of their own, and you get to now sort of be the parent or the advocate for the songs. And so what, I don't know what is, are you still in lockdown in Maui? Have you ever been in lockdown? What does life look like over there for a musician and a theater actor? What is life looking like right now?
Yeah, it's been very interesting. We were locked down for a little while, and then stuff started to open back up, but we were closed to tourists for a long time, so we were able to open back up. We opened back up to tourism, like, without a 2-week quarantine on October 15th. So since then, it's been kind of slowly getting back into how do we do this life with all the tourism, because our economy is, we can't get away from tourism. So there's been lots of tourists coming back, and they are the places are open, but not a lot of them had live music because people couldn't stay there, so like, now that restaurants are open again, there's less capacity, but they're actually doing some live music, which is exciting. And a new venue opened up not too long ago here. They have been planning it for like a year, I think, but they basically had to create this whole venue based on COVID regulations because they weren't open yet when COVID started. So they have this amazing, huge space, like down by the water in Ma'alaya, and they created this stage with like, what should we call it, plexiglass on the front, and it's based on how to do live music in a COVID world. So, and there's a couple other places that are doing it really well. So there are options for me right now. I just haven't been really look into live music because I never really played much live before, but I would like to now. I'm working on healing some vocal stuff, but once I feel ready, I definitely want to get out and do that. And theater is screwed, basically. But we have been doing a lot of amazing live streaming and video stuff. So yes, we can't have a bunch of people in the same room, but I've been lucky enough. One of my really good friends runs a small theater here on the south side, and she likes me enough to, you know, have me down there and help with sound for some of these shows. I've been recording some other people's performances, which has been really fun. So I actually had got to feel like I was doing a show. You know, I got to be the only person in the audience basically for these amazing performers. And so I highly recommend. Theaters are trying so hard. Like, if you have the money to spend on a $5-10 ticket right now, like, everybody in the theater industry needs a little boost. Yeah. So if your local theater is doing that, I highly recommend helping them out.
Yeah, Los Angeles is not, it's just starting to open up a little bit to outdoor dining.
Yeah.
But you, speaking of live performance, you have something coming up. Let me just flash that. So this is on, tell us the date.
Yeah, February 18th, so 2 weeks from today at 4 p.m. Hawaii time, so it'll be 6 p.m. Pacific. And Mana'o Radio is our local listener-supported radio, and I love them so much. They always play local musicians' songs and support us like crazy. So they are doing a Mana'o at Home show. She started during quarantine, Trish, the DJ, did. And now she's kind of revamping it into a more official thing, even though we're not technically in lockdown, but we still can't have like huge shows. So they're really supporting us with that. And so she's doing kind of similar to this, but a little more music, like half interview, half music. So that's on February 18th.
Awesome. Love that. So y'all, I'm going to leave that up for one more second. And then I guess I'll play a song. We're getting up to the hour, so I'll take us out. Let's see here. There we go. And well, Sara, you know, I said to you earlier, I have a new song to play today, and I hope that it stays underneath my fingers.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah. There's that stomach turning over feeling internally, but we'll see.
Good old butterflies.
We'll see if this works. So me and all the butterflies, exactly. So this is a new song. It's called "Born for This Ride." Do that. Okay. When you stand at the station to purchase your seat, when you lay down your one-way fare and fold the ticket neatly, when you blah, 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 there we go. When you turn from the cellar and push through the crowd, don't stop at the platform, the train is leaving right now. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You gotta get on that train when it's calling you, though it might stall on the line. You gotta keep an eye on the glowing moon, rising sun, God, honest truth. Have faith, you're making good time, 'cause you were born for this ride. When the ground starts to rumble and you're going full tilt, when you fret that you're unprepared and you're losing your will, you can look in the mirror, but don't stay there too long. All that it shows is what's already gone. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You gotta get on that train when it's calling you, though it might stall on the line. You gotta keep an eye on the glowing moon, rising sun, God, honest truth. Have faith, you're making good time, 'cause you were born for this ride. You gotta get on that train when it's calling you, though it might stall on the line. You gotta keep an eye on the glowing moon, rising sun, God honest truth. Have faith you're making good time, 'cause you were born for this ride. I'm gonna try to take it out. We'll see if this works. Almost. My hand is cramping up from playing that song, but I'm so into the train ride pattern.
I love it.
Thank you for letting me, kind of just start that journey of playing it out loud.
Absolutely, yeah. I know it's so nerve-wracking playing a new song. You did great.
That's one of the things that when I first started this show, I thought, oh, I'm gonna bring in a new song every single week, and then I realized how nerve-wracking that actually is to play a new song every week in front of us.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So, it's happened a couple times.
It's a noble effort, but it's a lot.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Susie. And thank you, Andri. It's so nice to see you here all the way from Switzerland.
Thank
that's
you.
Pretty great.
Yeah, I love that. I love that picking pattern. It's epic. It definitely sounds like a train rumbling. It's great.
Yeah, I've been years and years ago. I moved to a town, a very rural place, and I didn't know a lot of people. I didn't have much of a life, and when the year was over, I had started finger picking. I realized that I had kind of taught myself to finger pick, and this was a long time ago. And when COVID started, and I just came into the shed, I thought, I want to work on some other patterns that freight train pattern. And just try to get that under my fingers. And this was actually the first original song that I wrote coming out of that study. But it's still getting itself under my hands. So
that's lovely.
Well, Sara, thank you so much. This has been such a delight to connect with you and talk books and hear your song live. I love that. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. We'll have you back sometime. And I'll see you in our other worlds that we circle around. Yeah. All right,
sounds
Sara.
good. Thanks, Arielle.
And thank you to everybody for tuning in. So nice to have you here, and really appreciate having Far West boost this up a little bit as a media partner. Very excited to work with them. And who do we have next week on the docket? Ashley Norton from Witherword. Actually, we have both Ashley and Edward are a duo in this group called Witherword, and I'm going to have one on next week and then the other one on in a couple of weeks. It'll be really fun to talk with both of them about books and swap songs. But until we meet again, I hope that you stay safe and stay sound. My next live shows are going to be the third week of February 22nd through 25th. I'm going to be doing a whole slew of live streams. I'm going to be doing song swaps and some other showcases as part of the Far West Folk Alliance Unlocked conference. And so stay tuned. I will post the full schedule, but I'll be playing live every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with various people in various ways, and you can tune in. So until I see you next time, I hope that you are well, and take good care.